We're live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. This is another morning episode of Trade with Travis. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well on this Tuesday morning. As we go through and take a look at these pairs, what we're going to end up doing, taking about 30 minutes to be able to see what's actually happening for the overall movements. I'm going to try to be as quick as possible when it comes down to everything that we're doing today, and be able to talk about some of the trades that we ended up getting into last night, what to be able to do with those trading pairs, because I actually ended up taking profit just earlier on those pairs, and being able to give some examples when it comes down to that. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll go ahead and get started based off of that, and hopefully everybody's doing very well. Hopefully everybody's starting off with a green morning. It's always good to be able to have a good morning when it comes down to starting off. So let's go ahead and get started. Not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it is not promised that you can end up making money today. So with that being said, hopefully everybody's doing very well. Good morning when it comes down to trading. We're going to jump right into taking a look at what's actually happening with one of the trading pairs that we ended up getting into a little bit earlier, which was NAS 100. Got into that trade last night. As the market is basically moving right now at this particular point, I want to make sure that everyone is good when it comes down to that movement. I got to place in one other thing. I want to make sure I get this done real quick before we move forward. Matter of fact, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about what actually ended up happening. So last night we ended up seeing that the market ended up going into consolidation. We had a consolidated day based off of that large movement of overall movement to the downside. Ended up taking in a sale at 10,910. From there, to take profit was 10,400 for its overall movement. But what I ended up finding out, or what I ended up noticing this morning, was that we ended up having this large order block at right around that 10,780 number. And I ended up saying that if this market could not break this low from over here yesterday, then I wasn't going to be interested in being able to stay in, at least for the first initial portion of this move, because it will be building out another consolidation. So at this particular point in time, I actually ended up getting out of this trade because we basically done hit this overall movement not once, not twice, but a third time, and it has rejected, which means that going into this morning, I do expect that the market is going to start to be able to push back up. Possibly could get back up to this area right around that 10,940 area, and it doesn't make any sense to be able to get rid of a winner or turn a winner into a loser, because you already done had your overall position for it being able to lock out profit. So took profit on that movement. The biggest thing that I'll be looking for going into this movement, going into the rest of the night, or anything else, would be one. Now, if this okay, now if this is going to end up being the move that we're going to end up paying attention to for the overall movement to the downside, then, and if that's going to end up being the new change, then we're going to have to basically adjust our overall thought process on how we're going to end up trading this overall, and having a new consolidation box that we're going to have to work off of, that would truly be able to be built out based off of our overall thought process and movement. And this one right here would not be any use to us anymore. So that's what I'm looking for. If the market ends up breaking below 10,817 again, and it gives us some forceful movement, then after that, I'll look at being able to rejoin. Excuse me, look at being able to rejoin the trade. But taking profit for the morning time, it's always good. We already know that. We already done locked in profit at least for the morning, and then after that, we can go ahead and be able to move forward from there. One other trade that we end up taking. Let's see. One other trade that we end up taking was. Give me 1 second. Just want to make sure everybody has this. One other trade that we end up taking was XVX 500. XVX 500 end up having pretty much the same deal. Market end up showing consolidation, broke to the downside. When the market end up breaking to the downside, we end up entering this trade in our night session at 3606. When the market end up breaking at 3606, it fell down and basically double bottom right around 35.72. As soon as I end up seeing that first little pop up to the upside, I was like, okay, well, it's not really. We're probably going to end up seeing this thing kind of slow down a little bit. We are seeing that the VWAP and we are seeing that the moving average are kind of spreading out, which means that any big move to the top side, if it does fall again, then we should have some significant drops that we could be able to get into and kind of keep on taking advantage of. Take profit is still at 3,500, but obviously because we're coming off of being able to see what happened with non-farm payroll and what happened on Monday where we had light movement. I do expect that going into today, when it comes down to trading today, we probably might end up having a little bit of a pop at 8:30, and then after that, we'll finally end up seeing that the market will probably start to be able to continue to move toward that 3,500 number. So today, I think it's going to end up being a good day for trading, but I got to get a little bit of help from the early morning traders to be able to see how this market is going to end up reacting. I would like to see that this market pops up to the upside before being able to ultimately fall, kind of like what's happening right here. I would love to be able to see that this market pops up to the upside, and at the least bit, go ahead and start looking at seeing that this market may do something like a strategy 4 type of trade where it pushes up to the resistance, holds that resistance. We end up taking that sell from there, and then after that, trying to take it all the way down to the position where we think it's going to end up going. So that is my thought process when it comes down to US 30. NAS 100. That's my thought process when it comes down to XPX 500. But I'm out of both pairs with profit this morning. Ain't no sense of being able to hold on to them when it comes down to that. Typing a Y, yes, that makes sense as we go through and get ready to talk about everything else that's going on with the overall market today. Now, with that being said, for the people that have been with me for a while, y'all know that we end up creating a community Discord, and I'm super excited to be able to get that situated and shown for everybody else, so you can be able to get free education, free technical analysis, free indicators, free different things like that to be able to help you enhance your overall trading experience. Also, we end up having a premium section inside of there if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more. I end up placing in 2 links down there that you can be able to take a look at overall. Once again, no pressure on being able to do that. Know that this business is a for-profit business, and I do say that, but I also want to make sure and ensure that everyone can be able to get the greatest education that you can be able to get on this trading platform that we have. Okay, so there we go. Take a look at that a little bit later on. So let's talk about what's happening overall today. We have unemployment rate and climate count change that ended up happening when it came down to the pounds. Those numbers were negative. The unemployment rate was actually okay when it came down to the percentage. We're going to end up having the Swiss franc. Chairman Jordan end up speaking a little bit later on today, and we're going to end up having Governor Bailey end up speaking a little bit later on today at 2:35. So today is still considered to be a trader's day. The market and everything else are really going to dictate how the market, how everything is going to end up moving. So please keep that in mind. But overall, I really don't think that from a fundamentals perspective, there's not going to be anything that's going to end up making the market move. All right, so please keep that in mind. I'm going to go rapid fire right here at this particular point. We're going to start talking about what's happening with the United States dollar index. We're going to talk about what's happening with gold. We'll talk about what's happening with oil. And then after that, we'll finish up on US 30, and we'll call it a day. If there's no one live to be able to ask any questions about what's going on. Weekly, United States dollar index, what I'm seeing is this. We end up having a retest of this overall movement to the upside. There was a D extension that ended up getting hit at 13,512 when it came down to that movement to the upside. We take a look at that from a daily perspective. We are seeing a rising wedge, and I talked about this earlier last night in the night session. We're seeing that this movement is showing that it's ready to be able to fall, and it wouldn't surprise me at the 9:30 bell that we see that the United States dollar pairs end up being weak overall when it comes down to movement. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because of twofold. One, we just talked about how we looked at NAS 100 and how it's kind of creeping, and I would say that I'll be interested in being able to buy. If the United States dollar index as a whole starts to fall, then the index start to push up. So it's kind of a what's the best way to be able to say it? If this falls, the correlation between the US 30, NAS 100, XVX 500, and everything else like that will end up pushing up. That's the reason why I'm out of the trades on NAS 100 and US 30, because the movement has not necessarily happened. And we can see that this thing is slowly teetering, just like how you end up getting on a roller coaster. Typically, once you end up hitting that last click on a roller coaster, the market ends up falling. I do expect that Euro, United States dollar, and a few other pairs like that will start to be able to gain control and start to be able to get some movement to the upside. All right, so we will take a look at Euro United States dollar, and I will take a look at pound United States dollar at least before we get out of here. U.S. oil. U.S. oil finally ended up having a drop off when it came down to that movement, went inside of consolidation. Uh, why are we? Why do I keep on getting stuff from that? From a weekly perspective, we end up talking about how oil had to be able to push up. We're looking at being able to get it all the way up to 94.59. From a daily perspective, we end up taking in a couple trades right around 82.50. We rode 82.50 up to two different positions. Those positions were 89.63. I'm sorry, it was from 87.20 to 89.63. We tried to get it to go all the way up to 94.50. The market went into consolidation. As soon as the market went into consolidation, I said that, hey, we're not necessarily looking at being able to get into this anymore, just because the daily was in the sell zone. Since then, the market has tailed off and started to fall. It basically ended up falling from past resistance, turn that into a future support. We'll see how if that market kind of holds and see if that's going to end up being the case for that overall movement as well. And just being patient when it comes down to that. Other than that, I don't know if there's other than that. Taking a look at this overall pair in general, I don't think there's anything to be able to do off of oil, at least right now, for being able to make a decision off of it. Just being honest, I don't like what I see overall because there's no built-out consolidation to be able to get into. So oil, not going to pay attention to anymore. Gold is pretty much the same, not going to pay attention to it anymore. Probably might end up seeing this market start to push back up at a certain point, but there's really no distinct movement to be able to make off of this trade at this particular point in time. So done with that. I'm going to take a look at US 30 real quick. US 30, from the news that ended up happening, we end up having large consolidation. They end up happening. Jobs report came out. Market fell about 1,100 points. Consolidated again. We talked about being able to take that trade to the downside if we could be able to get it. That ended up happening slightly. They end up happening slightly, but I never end up taking the trade to the downside off of this when I expected that the market was going to push up. Plus, this one was a little bit stagnant when it came down to the high volume note. The high volume note was a little bit higher, and the market was not in a position of where it broke out before being able to get into this pair. So I did not trade that one at all before being able to make a decision on that one. So currently, right now, we can see that the market is kind of slowing down on all of the pairs. Seeing that there is a chance that the market could start to pop up when it comes down to most of these pairs as well. Not guaranteed. I will say that it's definitely not guaranteed, but it's something to be able to truly pay attention to if the market does start to pop up, kind of like what's happening with Nas. So we end up going from there. DAX is not ready yet to be able to make any type of movement. Market ended up breaking out of consolidation on Monday. Pushed up to the upside, started to actually show that this is now the new consolidation box that we have to be able to worry about. And that consolidation box has gotten a little bit larger overall. So currently right now we're in the middle of the consolidation box. You know my rule when it comes down to consolidation. I don't like playing around with it. I don't play inside of consolidation. I play on the outsides of it. So there's really no movement to be able to take until the market actually ends up breaking below 12,110 or above 12,400. For that overall movement at this particular point in time. Okay, so not interested in being able to make a movement off of that one as well. Lastly, let's go into Euro United States dollar. I want to see what's happening with that, as we know that the United States dollar pairs may start to get weak. So there may be an opportunity to be able to take a look at that. And then after that, we'll close out today and wish everybody a happy trading day overall. So a lot of stuff happening off of this one. I need to erase some of this stuff. I really do need to erase some of this stuff. Matter of fact, let me go and take a look at it based off of trading views chart. No, I need to finish up over this one. Okay. Let's do it on a new chart real quick. Okay. Euro United States dollar from a weekly perspective obviously has been bearish. The market has hit a D extension on the weekly. Because the market has hit a D extension on the weekly, there's an expectation that the market could start to push back up. So looking at the Eurozone in general, I do expect that the market will push back up at a certain point in time. Maybe today might be the catalyst for that movement. The market had a slight retracement to 382, and because of that slight retracement to the 382, we end up seeing that the market started pushing back up at the 127. But overall, based off of this look, I'm not interested in what's happening with the Eurozone. So not taking a trade off of that. Pound. Um, Obviously, we had climate change that just come out. Um, let's see how that affected the overall market just in general. Over the course of the last hour, we've seen that the market started to push up a little bit. Not much, but started to push up a little bit um, towards that overall movement to the upside. Kind of curious to see how the market's going to end up reacting this in general. Um, Weekly perspective, weekly D extension ended up getting hit. Um, we do not have a fractal low to be able to work off of. Even though I do think the United States dollar is primed to be able to fall, I mean, primed to be able to be weak, and other pairs are going to end up getting stronger. I don't think that the eurozone nor the pound are in a position to be able to take advantage of that movement. So both of those I'm going to end up passing. All right, I'm going to close out today. Got to keep on moving, but we end up taking profit on two pairs earlier this morning, so we are up for the morning. So keep that in mind, and hopefully we'll see what happens when it comes down to most of these pairs, and see if there's any type of trading opportunity that we can get into a little bit later on. Like what I end up doing, please make sure that you end up liking the Carter Cow Capital business page. Please make sure that you end up boosting this overall video. Make sure that you end up going to the red brand for the people that are first time listeners, and obviously long-term subscribers to be able to help out what's going on with the red brand and being able to go from there. Also, take advantage of our community Discord where we end up continuing the conversation and continuing the education for everybody when it comes down to that. Like always, plan your trade, trade your plan. Everybody, y'all end up having a good one. Take it easy.